Hello. Come on in, friends. Come on aboard. The Paranormal Point of View ship is about to sail. This is our first episode tonight, and this is going to be a bi-monthly, twice a month podcast, and we're going to be covering all articles, what have you. We're going to be covering all of it from a paranormal perspective. Okay. And I want you to know, just starting out here at the very beginning, that this is your podcast too. Okay, and this is the format of this podcast is an open forum. Okay, you know what that means. You can ask any questions, make any observations, recommend books, whatever you need to do. Within reason. And I want you to realize that this is definitely your podcast as well, okay? And you're part of the family of Paranormal POV, all right? And we'll always be on the Hunting the Shadows YouTube podcast channel, okay? That's where you'll find us right now. I'm gonna say hello to some people. Good evening, Cryptid Huntress, my good friend. And Ray Landry. Shiro, good to have you here, man. And Midwest Night Watchers, my good friend Gerald, and Roger, and Marie. Hello, Marie. And of course, Crystal is there somewhere. And Prospecting USA Hunting America's Treasures. Okay, that's good. Good to have you here. And I want everybody to know that you need to like and share us out, okay? And like, share, and subscribe, okay? Definitely want to do that, all right? And hello, Griff, and my good friend Juno. All right, we're getting a full house hopefully tonight. We're going to have some interesting topics within the next hour or so for you here, okay? I'm going to do some review on some books. I've got an article I want to talk to you about in a magazine, definitely. Going to talk about a couple of movies, and who knows what else we may get into here, okay? So sit back and get ready for some good, interesting, hopefully, conversation, all right? I'm going to start out with some books here that I highly, highly recommend. Okay, why? Because I'm the author of them. Okay, I am one of the writers on some of these, and going to talk about these for a minute. They're available on. I'm going to get these out of the way to start with. Okay, they're available. Hey, David, they're available on Amazon. All you gotta do is look up Dennis W. Carroll or Barnes and Noble. Okay, the first one I'm gonna talk about is I dabble in poetry a little bit. Okay, I enjoy wordplay, and the first one is called "In Sunshine and in Shadow." Okay, that's poems of a paranormal persuasion. All right, and that's the poetic works of Wa here, okay? And moving right along, there's In Sunshine and Shadow collection number 2, okay? These are not real thick, but they will entertain you for a while, hopefully. I like a good poetry. My favorite thing is poetry that tells a story, okay? That tells a story. That's what I love. I love storytelling, okay? That's one of my, I guess you might say, one of my inherited talents. I love to tell a good story, and I love to hear a good story, beyond a doubt. And speaking of beyond, here is a book that you don't need to be without. Beyond the Shadows, a field guide to the paranormal, okay? And this is also on Amazon. And whether you're doing spiritual research, you're into demonology, you're into the cryptid thing, you're looking at earth mysteries, you're a suburban explorer, and I've done a lot of that myself too. I've explored a lot of suburban areas in my time. Some of the offbeat stuff, okay, and the ghost towns and stuff like that. You need this in your in your truck there, okay? You need this in your stuff when you go because it's got some very helpful tips and observations for things that you might want to be, okay? Um, and definitely, if you're in my channel, definitely Shiro is right. You need to go subscribe, okay? Absolutely. And um, subscribe. And we're about to hit 160 on the Hunting the Shadows thing, so we're getting there. The next book is one of my favorites, okay? It's one of my favorites because it covers a lot of interesting ground. It's kind of a part encyclopedia. It's also, well, it's just a darn good read. I enjoyed reading it and I wrote it, okay? But it's called A Road Unseen, A Paranormal Journey into High Strangeness. And it does document some paranormal stuff that has happened to me. Some stuff that is happening in the world. Definitely, I talk about a lot of the government interference I've had. They've tracked me. They've watched me. You hear about all that in this book. Okay, The Road Unseen. And like I said, we'll knock those out of the way starting off because I might maybe a few shows from now we'll talk about them again, but gonna get those out of the way first. But it's been a very interesting week, folks. Definitely some very bad things going down in the Middle East, and with all the stuff going on with Israel and all that, it's a very depressing time for a lot of people in the world right now. Though the world is kind of teetering, really, and it has been for some time now, teetering on the brink of World War III, definitely. It wouldn't take much to push it one way or the other. And these are very perilous times, very dangerous times that we've entered, definitely. And, sometimes we need to get away from all that. We need to settle down with a good book, and lose ourselves in that, or even if it's just research. I want to tell you something about research, okay? And I've been a researcher for all my life, it seems like. I used to haunt the dusty, dim reference rooms of many libraries, many hours spent there. You couldn't bring the books home either, by the way. Now you have this wonderful thing, this wonderful tool in front of you called the computer. You have the libraries of the world at your fingertips. I wish I could have had that 40 years ago. Definitely. I could have done some really major research, but we got what we got now, definitely. But the interesting thing is, books have always been friends to me. Okay, I look upon them as friends, like meeting a friend and getting to know them. And sadly, sometimes you part with them in the end. That's the way it goes with books. That's the way it goes with life. But some of the best friends I've ever had were books. And like I say, I'm sitting right now in the middle of probably one of the largest paranormal libraries in the southeastern United States. Okay, I wouldn't, without a doubt, there are thousands of paranormal books here. I've collected some very valuable books, and some very rare books. Over time, I love books, and I'm all about books. I guess I am the proverbial bookworm. Okay, I'd rather be a dragon, book dragon. But anyway, that's one of my things, and of course, I had to definitely become a writer on a lot of that stuff. And and a lot of people ask me, what do you do? How do you write? And I'm working on 3 books right now, as a matter of fact, simultaneously when I get a chance to work on them. But they said, well, how do you write? I said, you got to read first, then you can write. Okay, that's the way that goes. And the more you read, the more perspective you get from different people on different things, whatever it may be. That broadens your horizon. No doubt about it. Hello, Stuart. No doubt about it, it broadens your horizons. And we all need our horizons broadened, definitely, without a doubt. But I've always been interested not only in just literature, many of the great classics like Dracula. I talked about that the other night on my show, Hunting the Shadows. Dracula is one of my favorite books. I read it 4 or 5 times a year. So I do also with Frankenstein, the original. I love them. The way they're laid out, the way they talk to you, the way they put you in the story almost. Their visualization of it is incredible. There are some incredible writers, even modern day writers like J.K. Rowling that we know, and my favorite, one of my favorites, J.R. Tolkien. By the way, he pronounced his name Tolkien. By the way, not Token, but Tolkien. And of course, some of the other writers, my favorites, of course, like Poe and Lovecraft and Howard. The list goes on and on. I love all of the classics without a doubt. Hey, LCC. I love them without a doubt. They are part of me. They're part of my life, and I reread them all the time. But also, you need to get into different other perspective on things, though, especially if you're very interested in the fields of the paranormal, supernatural, cryptozoology. I lump them all together because they're all related fields. Okay, I would not suggest you study one without studying the other because you get a much broader perspective and you can connect the links to them. That's the way you got to go. Roger says my grandma on my dad's side of the family had a large collection of different types of books and magazines. I don't know who got them. Well, Roger, that can be heirlooms. Family heirlooms that can be passed down. I've got a lot of books, and there's some people I've attached to those books, and I think of them when I read them, that they gave them to me. To me, some of this stuff is invaluable. It's more than gold in the bank to me in that respect. To me, I venerate those kind of things more so than other material objects, you might say. Definitely. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into philosophy and all that here, but to me, when you read what another writer has written, you get their perspective. You see through their eyes. You feel through their psyche. That's a wonderful connection. Okay, when you get that connection going. I have had Poe, who's been dead for a long, long time. I never met him, of course. Speaks to me sometimes. He really does. He really is just like his personal kind of thing. It's hard to explain, but that's the way great writers can do. And so it's a good thing to read. And the more you read, the more you will understand. Hello, Melissa. The more you will understand this world that we inhabit, this universe that is ours, the more expands your horizons. Definitely, without doubt. So I'm going to talk about another book right now. And he's by a good friend of mine. This guy's brilliant. Okay, I really love his work. And he's kind of reminds me of me, okay, because he has been in the paranormal field for a long, long, long time, and he's had some very interesting paranormal experiences. And I'm talking about my good friend Graham Phillips, and this is one of his latest books here, Strange Fate, an extraordinary true story of paranormal discovery. Okay, and they look for an object. They're looking. That's why it's got a rose on here, by the way. They're looking for an object. And he's like an modern day Indiana Jones in that respect too. Very much like John Keel was, another writer I admire. John Keel was very much like this as well. Sort of kind of like a modern day Indiana Jones. This guy, Graham Phillips, and I'm going to talk about this book for a moment, has some very wild stuff in it. You need to read this book without doubt. Okay, and I'm going to try to get him on the show. I want you to meet this guy. You will be glad you did, because he is a fascinating fellow. Hey, War Criminal, good to have you here. And anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Strange Fate, and the reason why it's named that. Graham Phillips is in, of course, the UK. He's in Great Britain, but he has an American friend. Her name is Jody. And they get together sometimes, and they work on cases and all that thing. But in this book, they're investigating a mysterious 19th century secret society. It was called Mionia. And they're looking for a certain object, and it's called the Heart of the Rose. That's why you got the rose here, okay? The Heart of the Rose, which they do find it, but I'm not going to get tell you too much about how they can find it. But here's the interesting thing about it. And like I said, I don't want to give too much away on this, but they run into some very, very freaky, strange fate, as it's called. Strange kind of coincidence. And I don't believe in coincidence my own self personally anymore. But it's what you would call strange working going on here. Okay. And they also have some very strange experiences of some type of time and reality shifting going on with this, and all of this is tied into, believe it or not, Alice in Wonderland. Lewis Carroll, the guy that wrote it's got, he's very involved in this. You got to read this book, okay? Strange Fate. It is one of the wildest paranormal cases I have ever read about. Put it that way. And this guy's got two other books out, which I'll be talking about in later shows. Were just as one of them was even freakier than this in some aspects. So you really need to think about purchasing this book. Definitely, it's online. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, I'm sure, and you can get it in Kindle as well. And of course, my books are available in Kindle as well. If you don't want to get a hard or a paperback copy on that. But like I said, this guy's brilliant. He's a brilliant writer. Another friend of mine, Nick Redfern, is an absolute brilliant writer too. But by the way, I was going to say, and he's strangely enough, he's also from the UK. But let me say this about Graham Phillips. He actually supposedly found the staff of Moses. You know, Moses. The staff of Moses with which the Red Sea was parted and all, and the rock was struck and all that stuff. And listen to this. Here's you talking about strange fate and twists of fate. Guess what? It ended up on the Titanic. The staff of Moses ended up on the Titanic. But at the first port of call in Ireland, the guy that had the staff of Moses got off of the ship with the staff. That's why it exists to this day. And you can see it in a museum. Had he not got off on that ship, he would have went down along with his staff in the Titanic. Interesting stuff here, folks. Okay, you need to check it out. It's very wild. But anyway, if anybody's got any feedback on that, wants to know anything about Graham Phillips, he's like I said, a brilliant writer, and he's just a down to earth guy. That's what I like about him. You know, he's a real down to earth guy. And really funny guy too. He does some funny. The other day he had a video on YouTube where he was investigating dry cleaning. So he's really neat. You know, he was talking about, hey, you know, how do they clean with dry stuff? You know, so he's a card. He's a real character. But I like him. He is a very brave guy. But he's, like I say, he's got a very much attribute. He needs to wear one of those Indian hats. Okay. Because he's got very much attributes like, you know, the traditional Indiana Jones kind of guy. Or Josh Gates, who I've talked to as well. Josh Gates is a funny guy, too. I like him. He's a really neat guy. And, of course, my good friend Adam Davies is neat, too. And another guy from the UK. I'm very popular in the UK with my books for some reason. And I kind of get along with. Maybe I need to go live in the UK. Wow. But anyway. There's some interesting things I would love to investigate over there, without a doubt. No doubt about it. But they're interesting places everywhere. I've always wanted to investigate the Alamo. That's one of my top things I've always wanted to do. If they would let me spend the night in there, who knows what I might come out with. But anyway, I've gone to a lot of places, historical places like that, but unfortunately got this rule against letting you stay all night, most of them. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I did a show in the UK one time, and an actual radio show, and I told the guy over there, you know, I said, when we talk about history here, we're going back like 200 or 300 years. When you talk about history over there in England, you're going back a couple of thousand years there, okay, 2,000 or 3,000 years. So wherever you have a lot of history, you definitely have a lot of paranormal activity, without a doubt. Definitely. So anyway, he's a fascinating read. If you got time to read, definitely check him out. I highly recommend him, and he has had some very, very interesting cases, and we'll talk about some more of those in the future, definitely. And also, on this podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about some movies because movies come from screenplays, and that's literature. Okay, and I'm gonna recommend a couple of movies I've seen recently that you really, really need to check out. Okay, and I want to say one thing to begin with, though. I'm not real big or deep into these more horrific type horror movies. I mean, I've seen them all. I'm a connoisseur of horror movies. Okay, I've seen them all. There's not one that I haven't seen. I check them out. I always check them out. But I'm not a real big fan of the slasher per se torture type movies. I think they're kind of sick. You know what I mean? I'm not that big into those. I like more of the classical movies and the more classically made kind of movies of the new ones. But I like a good mystery. I love a mystery. Okay, I've since I was a little boy, I read every Sherlock. I devoured Sherlock Holmes, all of them. Every fictional detective I can find, to Marlowe to the rest of them, all of them I could find. I love good mystery stories, and I love a good mystery movie, without a doubt. So we're going to be talking about those in a little while there. We've got some time left. But anyway, I'm going to talk now. I'm going to turn to periodicals, okay? And I got my hands on a very interesting magazine the other day, and well, actually, my cousin told me about it. She's watching that. Thank you. She let me in on this. I didn't know about it, but I've got it right here. Let me get it out. And I think this is runs into some very deep research I've done on this subject. Okay, so that's why it kind of jumped on me like it did. I've done a lot of deep research on this, and I find this is sort of more of an up to date research thing that's going on with this. Okay, and that's why I wanted to jump on it, and of course I devoured this article as well. But I'm going to show it to you here in just a moment. But um, it's very interesting. If you can get a copy of this magazine came out in April of this year, April 23. It's a Newsmax magazine, and this is it here. If I can get lined up so you can see it, that is the real face of Jesus. But it talks about the Shroud of Turin, okay? And let me say something about the Shroud of Turin. I have studied it for many, many, many years. Since the 70s, 60s, and 70s, okay? I have been interested in this. And let me say one thing at the beginning of this, okay? There are certain elements in the scientific world, and I know this without a doubt, that are enemies of certain truths in this world. They want only their perspective to prevail. Okay, whether it's false or not, they don't care. They just want their perspective to prevail. I want you to understand that. You must understand that because I've said before many times, science has blinders. You know what blinders are? They got blinders on a horse. You can only see what's in front of you. They can't see everything around them. They put these blinders on purposefully because they think their perspective is the one that prevails over anything else. And they're very, very set in their ways with this, okay? And that is very detrimental to what true science is. Let me say this. I have always investigated things with a scientific slant because that's the true way to ascertain information and gather true evidence is the scientific way to do it. But you can't be biased in the way that you do it. And these guys are biased by their own short-ended opinions, okay? And you got to remember that, and don't be that way, okay? That's not what real science is. And I've talked to a lot of scientists, I've talked to a lot of professors and all that. And, some of them are guys, some of them are smart guys, but some of them are blind, okay? They blind themselves because they only believe in one certain thing. They don't leave any room for any other type of belief but their own. You cannot become that opinionated, that biased in your opinion. You will blind yourself every time. I don't care if you're a scientist or a donut maker, whatever the case is. Don't do that. But these guys are guilty of that. Okay. I want to say that at the beginning of this, talking about the Shroud of Turin. Because I've had a lot of people come on Facebook and argue with me about this. Oh, it's a fake. It's been proven a fake. It's been proven a fake. No, it's not. Okay. No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Like I said, some people with certain perspectives at the very beginning of their research on this fought against what it may really truly be. Okay. But here's the interesting thing about this. Okay, I'm gonna say this about the image of Jesus right quick. Okay, have a lot of people say, "Oh, he's too white. He's too white. He's way too white." Okay, you got to remember something. And I used to work in a print shop. Okay, true colors sometimes do not translate to the pictures the way you want them to. I think without doubt Jesus was definitely someone darker than this. Okay, and like I say, this is a 3D image, and 3D image is flaky with color. All right. Let me say this: he was, I'm sure, darker than this because he lived under a Mediterranean sun. Okay, but let me say this about he was not as dark as some people put him to be, because you got to remember the human body is very adaptable, whatever environment it may be in. Jesus probably did not work out in the fields. Okay, he did not. He did some traveling. He did some moving around, but most of his life he worked in a carpenter shop inside, or probably out of the sun. Okay, he was not as dark as some other people in this region. Okay, you got to remember that, folks. So don't get hung up on this color thing. Okay, sure, he's not. He was never a white guy like the medieval artists. Medieval artists only could draw and equate to what they knew and saw around them because that was their world. You understand? Then you got to remember that. You got to remember that from that perspective, okay? But you get a lot of people get hung up on this stuff, and they're gonna make a big deal out of it, okay? But there are certain factors you got to take in the whole picture, not just what your perspective or your little bit is on it. You got to look at the whole thing. But I'm sure without a doubt that he and was not as light as this probably, but he certainly wasn't as dark as some people make it. And I don't know if anybody has blue eyes. Hey, we found Egyptians. There are Egyptians. There are people living in the Sudan that have blue eyes and red hair. Okay, you can't paint every bit of this with a broad brush because you really will end up painting yourself into a corner. Okay, don't do that. Okay. But anyway, I just want to get that out of the way right quick. But they say this is the 3D image taken from the shroud. Okay. But I want you to, I'm not going to tell you, we're going to read this whole article to you, and I'm not going to tell you about the whole thing. I want you to try to get a copy and read it yourself, okay? Because you will find this very, very interesting. This is a actual 3D picture of what the body would look like covered up with a shroud itself. And guess what? There is another part of the shroud in a church in Spain that supposedly has been dated to around the same time as this. And by the way, the carbon dating was way off, folks. Don't go by that, okay? Read this article. You will get a much, much more interesting perspective out of the real truth behind the Shroud of Turin, okay? But anyway, there is another cloth that they supposedly said covered his head when they took him down off the cross. And they juxtaposed both of these cloths over each other, and they lined up now over 75%. So this may be the same set of burial cloths that we're talking about here. But I want to read you one very important thing, okay? And by the way, I've found some things out about the shroud that they never told before. So that's why you need to read this article, definitely. By the way, the Sudarium of Alevito is the name of that other cloth that supposedly covered his face when they took him down off the cloth. But on the shroud, I didn't know this before, but you can see a reed with him. They gave him a reed when they beat him and mocked him as being a king. They gave him, instead of a scepter, they gave him a reed. Remember that? The reed is also mentioned in this. I mean, you need to check this out because it is fascinating stuff, without a doubt. They even give you a diagram of all the different points that articulate the shroud itself. So like I say, check it if you can get a copy of Newsmax, April 2, 2023. Get it, okay? I don't know if you might be able to find it on Amazon. I'm not sure, but anyway, try to get you a copy of it. I was going to read you one little excerpt right quick. Of course, this is the original shroud, picture of the shroud itself. Okay, get out of the light there a little bit. There you go. Very interesting. But here's what they said, and this is the part I find most fascinating, and I'm going to talk about this. I want to talk to you about this a little bit. There is a mark on the forehead. Okay, that looks like a 3. Okay, but you got to remember, this image is a mirror image. Okay, so really that's an E. And they say that Roman prisoners were stamped with a Greek letter. Okay, they say that this has something to do with it. I'm not going to tell you any more about it. I won't mess it up for you. You need to read about this. But anyway, I wanted to read you just a quick excerpt of what I find the most fascinating thing of all on this, okay? The image appears to be created by an oscillating strobe of high-intensity light with a simple wavelength. This light came from inside the body. Do you hear that? It came from inside the body, okay? The event happened in 1/40th of a billionth of a second, like a laser beam, moving 2.5 billion watts. Okay, think about that a moment. Okay, that's like a strike of lightning. Okay, to create a similar light, one would need all the electric power generated on the earth. Think about that just a moment, folks. We're talking about something supernatural here. And here's the clincher. Listen to this one excerpt. Dr. Lazarus ENEA Research Center found that the Shroud of Turin is not a fake, and the body image was formed by an undefined form of electromagnetic source of energy. Now, what have you heard me talk about that before? Spiritual energy is electromagnetic energy. That's spiritual energy, folks. That's what made, and I've said this before about the Shroud of Turin, that had to be what made that image on that cloth. It wasn't paint. There's no pigments on it. It's not a fake, folks. Okay. Where did it come from? And here's one more thing. Back in the old days, and some of the older people would remember this if they were here, when you die, they put coins on your eyes, okay? The Greeks were very dramatic about that. That was the coins for the ferryman. They would also, some people would put a coin under your tongue. They have actually found evidence that there were coins over the eyes of this image, and they made out some of the imagery of the coins, and one of them says Tiberius Caesar. He was the one who was ruling in the days when Jesus was alive and was crucified. Interesting stuff. Check it out. Newsmax magazine, April 2023. Okay. That's some fascinating stuff out there. You're talking about some very interesting research. I may have to do a Hunting the Shadows on that research one day, definitely, and get into that deeper, because it deserves much more deeper research than that, definitely. Hey, Cal, I get to have you here. You got any questions out there now? You're awful quiet. I think I hear some crickets. Okay, come on, let's have some questions. Let's have some feedback. I'd like to hear what you think about the Shroud of Turin and the other burial cloth that they talk about. It's a very short one. It's not as big as the Shroud of Turin. It's sort of like a yard or so, something. But they said that's what they covered his head. And actually, on the Shroud of Turin, you can also see where their ropes were around him. I mean, you got to read this, folks. It's fascinating stuff. If this is not the true burial cloth of Jesus Christ, I just don't know what else could be. I mean, it is amazing stuff to think about, without a doubt. put a coin in their shoe on their wedding day, as cryptid hunters said. Or used it. Yeah, coins were looked upon sort of good luck, cryptid hunters. Definitely. They say that, and there was an old superstition, how much I love folklore. There's old superstition you should always carry at least one coin with you. That way you will never die poor. That's an old superstition, an old folklore thing. But a lot of people would never be found without one coin. Okay. And, we've dated a lot of archaeological stuff by finding money, without doubt. And now I'm going to turn to some movies here, okay? I got about 3 movies I'm going to talk to you about tonight. And you got to see these movies, okay? All right? Without doubt, you've got to check them out. And I think most of them are free on Tubi. Tubi, which is a great app you can get. You can put it on your computer. You can get it on your TV if you've got Amazon Fire Stick. It's free, doesn't cost you a dime, okay? All right, now these 3 movies will be found on Tubi that I'm going to talk to you about. The first one, since we're talking about the crucifixion, it's definitely one you got to watch. It's called The Body, and it stars Antonio Banderas, okay? You remember the guy who played Zorro once upon a time. He is a great actor. I've always liked his movies, like Once Upon a Time in Mexico and some other things. But anyway, he is a great actor. He does a fantastic job in this movie, okay? The Body, and it's about a tomb that is found in Israel. And I talked about this on my show Demonology Today a few weeks back, that I had a dream one night. It just woke me up out of a dream. Late one night, that I dreamed that they found another tomb, and that they found the body of Jesus in that tomb, that he never rose. They found the skeleton. And I had never seen this movie, okay? I did not know this movie existed, okay? I mean, never had an inkling on this. And why I thought about that, and I said, this is some kind of course, hoax that they're trying to pull off on people to destroy Christianity. Would not surprise me a bit if they don't do something like that in the future. But then, lo and behold, there's a movie about this. Okay, there's a movie about it, and you need to watch this movie, The Body. It is fascinating, and it's got the best twist ending of any movie I've seen, and I love a movie with a good twist ending to it, and a story that way too. Anything's got a good twist ending to it. Rightly, the miscarbon dating was caused by the piece they used and was singed from soot. That's right, Stuart. They actually took the patch. They took some off the patch and not the actual cloth itself. That's science for you. A bunch of schoolboys. I don't know, but anyway. Melissa Lester, I do believe it's real. There will always be those who will seek to disprove the charlatan. Absolutely, Melissa. There will always be those who try to tear down faith because they are enemies. Don't forget what I've talked about before. They are enemies of truth and light. Okay? And they will stop at nothing to destroy the truth and the light of this world. Okay? And believe me, you're going to see that more as time goes on. You're going to see these enemies coming out of the woodwork. You see them now, and it's just nothing compared to what you're going to see. You're going to see in the years and in the days to come, definitely. Oh yeah. I'm writing down these movies. Okay, here's another. You got it. The Body, B-O-D-Y, The Body. Here's another movie I highly recommend. And I was telling my friend Jessica about this one, The Gift. Okay, and it stars Kate Blanchett, and she is an incredibly good actress too. I like stuff. She did a wonderful job with Queen Elizabeth. Kate Blanchett, of course, from the Lord of the Rings movies. Kate Blanchett's a terrific actress. Got Keanu Reeves in this too. He's a bad guy in it, believe it or not. He makes a very good bad guy in this movie. But it's about a young girl in Georgia, was a young woman who has the gift. She can see things, okay? And by the way, the strange thing about it, she doesn't use tarot cards. She uses Zener cards, okay? You can't be a good parapsychologist without Zener cards, okay? She uses Zener cards to foretell things. Now, you got to see this movie. It is great, but it's really a terrific terrific mystery movie. Very much like The Body is a mystery movie. So is this. The Gift is a mystery movie. And like I say, I love a good mystery. Got another twist ending in this. It ends very good. Doesn't like it's going to end good, but it ends very good. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it. But she has the gift. And sometimes the gift is a gift. And sometimes the gift can be a curse. Okay? I've known a lot of people that's happened to. All right? I have been fascinated over the years, and that's why I became a parapsychologist, fascinated with the powers of the human mind. A vast unexplored area, folks. Okay, and the psychic abilities, the gifts that some people have, and I consider them gifts, unless you're using it for wrong things. Okay, if you're using it in a bad way, it's not a gift. Okay, it's not. You've desecrated that gift. You've taken the innocence of that gift away from it. Then it's no longer truly can be called a gift. But the most interesting thing about people that I have known with gifts like that, they don't go around bragging about it. Okay, oh, I can do this or I can do that. They don't. The gift is a very, very personal thing to them, and I can understand that. I know where they're coming from. It's a very personal thing to them because it's part of them. It's part of their inner being. Okay. You've got to remember that. It's very important. We all have a gift. We just need to find it, and we need to work on exercising it more and getting it out there and coming to terms with it sometimes. But when you do come to terms with it, it makes you a much better, complete person. And everybody who's been along that path realizes that that's the way you do it. But like I said, people I've known who have had that gift, don't go around bragging on it. They don't kind of throw it in your face all the time. It's part of them. It's personal. It's like your religion is personal, and your politics can be personal. It's two things you don't really need to talk too much about because you can make very quick enemies with that. Okay, without a doubt. But these things are very personal, and you need to treat them that way when you run into that subject with people, okay? Don't fascinate with the power of our mind so much that we don't understand or forgotten. Everything, I'll see, by the way, everything we see, hear, touch, smell, feel is recorded up here. It's never really forgotten. I've talked to people that can actually remember their birth. Okay, the human mind. I've said this, and I'll say it and I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but one of the greatest things the Creator ever created, one of his masterpieces, was the human mind, without a doubt. Yep, it's fourth and 10 to go get your gift working, folks. Yeah, you become a much better person. Definitely. And I think our Creator has given us all a gift, maybe sometimes more than one gift that we need because He knows us personally, okay? And we get that from Him for that very reason. But you got to watch this movie, The Gift. Cate Blanchett and Keanu Reeves. Great movie, great mystery movie. It deals, both of these movies that I'm talking about, The Gift and The Body, they deal with supernatural kind of things, okay? But they're not scary in the fact that they're horror movies. They're not horror movies, okay? These are sort of more mystery, suspense type movies, but more mystery than anything else. I love them. They were great movies. And the third movie I'm going to talk about is a very interesting one, too. And it stars someone I never thought would have pulled this off, but she did an excellent job with it. Okay, Christina Ricci. Okay, you know who I'm talking about, the original Wednesday Addams. Okay, well, in the movies and not on TV. Christina Ricci and The Gathering. You got to check this out because the supernatural goes into Jewish folklore, but it's a big mystery thing too. It's got a twist ending. I'm not gonna mess it up for you. I love them with that twist ending. It kind of makes the journey worthwhile. Okay, when you get there. But anyway, he gave you common sense. That's good. A lot of people don't have that, Kyle. I run into a lot of people that don't have that gift of common sense, by the way. My youngest memories are when I was around too, Dennis, yesterday for me, still in the pram. Oh, see, that's the way the mind works. We all have that. It's there. It's just some of us can recall it better than others. but it's there. It never goes away. That's part of you. Everything, your environment around you. And whether you realize it or not, it's what shapes and molds you into the person that you are, whether you realize it or not. Definitely, without doubt. Greatest computer of all time, the human mind. That's true, without a doubt. Anyway, getting back to the gathering, it is a Jewish, but yet it is a Christian thing too. So you got to watch it. That's all I'm gonna say about it. So there you go. That's your 3 movies. That's your assignment this week. Okay, check those 3 movies out: The Body, The Gift, and The Gathering. Okay, you don't want to miss them. Believe me, they're 3 of the best movies I've seen in a long time. Okay. You got a lot of trash out there right now. Some of these movies, I get by halfway with them. I say, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they destroy it. Okay, but these movies had me where I want. I don't want. I like something kind of unpredictable that you can't. You know what's going to happen. You get bored in the middle of the movie or the book or whatever the case may be. You don't want to get. You don't want to go that route. You want to. You want to be held on the edge of the seat. That's what you want to be. And definitely these movies will do it for you. Trust me. Check them out. Okay, you got your snacks, Griff. All right. So anyway, that's how, that's going to be, we're going to wrap it up for our show tonight. The books. Let me go back over them again now. Okay. Strange Fate. You got to check this out. It's one of the most fascinating paranormal stories out there, buddy. If only 1/10 of this happened, it would still be a fascinating, beyond fascinating account, definitely. And don't forget my books now. You got In Sunshine and in Shadow, book 1. In Sunshine and in Shadow, collection 2. Beyond the Shadows, a field guide to the paranormal. And The Road Unseen, a paranormal journey into high strangeness. Okay. By the way, I took all the photographs for those books. Okay. So anyway, that's the books for this thing. And don't forget, Newsmax, April 2023. Okay, that's the Newsmax. That's the cover. Very easy to remember. And believe me, that is a fascinating article. I love that Shroud of Turin stuff. I mean, but the coins on the eyes, it's amazing. It really is what they found. And it seems like every time they do more research, and the more they find. I mean, the more they found out that he was covered with flowers, and that is what they used to do with a Jewish burial. They would put rose petals or flower petals over you. They're there. The flowers check out as to being synonymous with that region. You just got to check it out. Believe me, this is a fascinating article. It'll be over before you know it. Yeah, but anyway. Let's see what David. Did you see the movie The Fury with Kirk Douglas and Amy Irving? Yes, I have seen that. That's a great movie. Definitely. Very good. Yeah. Thanks so much, Jensen. I'll put your books on my birthday list. All right, Kyle. Good job. That's and Graham Phillips, by the way. Like I said, Graham Phillips is the author of that Strange Fate. Very great set of books. He's got some more books out too. Once you get to reading that book, you'll want to read his other ones, definitely. Let's see. The Cryptid I watched The Gift. It was great. Yes, it is a great movie. It doesn't seem like, Jessica, that it would be an uplifting kind of a movie, but towards the end, it is a very uplifting movie. I like a movie that says, hey, I made the journey and it was a good thing, You don't want to feel, you never want to leave I don't know, a lot of these movies they make nowadays, they leave you feeling bad, like you need to leave the movie theater and go home and take a shower kind of a thing. I mean, that's not good. Here's another thing, and I've talked about this the other day on some other shows. There's enough depressing stuff in the world as it is. We don't need to make ourselves even more depressed, okay? We need to try to take in good things that make our minds work, stretch us intellectually, But yet we need to have uplifting things, bright things in our lives that help us. They will make us feel better, and our outlook will be better. And we need to fight back against all this negativity in the world with good stuff, with positive things, without a doubt. Thank you, Nighthawk. And I need to put some of these comments up for people to see. I'm sorry, I get lost in there. I need a secretary, by the way. Thank you, Stuart. Tracy's here tonight. Hey, Tracy. And the good hunter says she agrees. And also Sue agrees. But it's true. We need to fight back proactively against the negative forces in this world, without a doubt. But anyway, I hope you'll be around for my next edition of Paranormal Point of View. And that's going to be the 27th of October, Friday night at 8 o'clock. And I'll have you some more books to look at, movies to talk about, articles, whatever. I want to go into my library and show you some other books that I recommend. Let me know what kind of research you want to do, what you're interested in, and I can maybe give you a heads up on some of the books and somewhere and point you in the direction you need to know on some of this stuff, without a doubt. And it's good to have a map, have a layout and a plan, okay, without a doubt. And thank you, David, and Midwest. And we're going to wrap it up here in just about 5 more minutes, okay. I want to say I hope you had a good Friday the 13th, by the way. And don't forget to pet a black cat and walk under a ladder. But I wouldn't advise breaking a mirror. You might get hurt doing that, okay. Those breaking mirrors can be kind of rough. But it's been an interesting Friday the 13th. They had a lot of things, very bad stuff predicted for Friday the 13th this year, and I think we're getting close to maybe getting out of it alive. Next time we'll definitely check out these books and reviews. Thank you, man. And Griff, thank you. And thank you, Cryptid Huntress and Kyle. And like I say, in the closing minutes here, if you've got anything you want to ask me right quick, hit me up. I'm fixing to close her out here in just a moment. And keep reading, keep searching, keep researching, keep looking, keep enjoying the good stuff that's out there. Don't worry about the bad stuff. It'll take care of itself. But keep enjoying it and all that. And check out my friend Nighthawk's High Strangeness podcast channel. And check out my friend Midwest Paranormal, Midwest Night Watchers channel. Check him out. Check my show out, Demonology Today, every Sunday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Check out Hunting the Shadows every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock p.m. And don't forget Paranormal Point of View, bi-monthly. And I will notify everybody. Everybody's going to know ahead of time when it's getting ready to come on there. And I will also definitely be a guest tomorrow night on with my good friend the Cryptid Huntress on her show tomorrow night, and I think that's at 10. And this will be my guest on Spaced Out Radio tomorrow night. And oh yeah, we're gonna get real spooky here, okay, folks. So make sure you check out Jessica the Cryptid Huntress, okay, tomorrow night 10 o'clock. We're gonna get into bloodthirsty creatures here, okay. All right, so we're getting in the Halloween mood. All right, definitely. And that's 10 p.m. Eastern with the Cryptid Hunters tomorrow night. Okay, so if you don't have anything to do Saturday night, there you go. Check us out. And this Sunday evening at 9 o'clock will be Demonology Today. It's going to be very interesting. The case of the crooked hand. Okay, you don't want to miss this one. And until we meet again, then, my friends, we'll close her out for the night. All right. So read. Keep yourself busy. Stay out of trouble. All right. Till we meet again. And good night, Juno. Good evening, everybody. Good night, Ann. C. Duke, thanks for being here, bud. And remember now, this is your podcast too from now on. I want to see some, I don't want to hear these crickets, okay? I want to hear some feedback. I want some input, some recommendations, and all that. And so when we get together next time, be ready, okay? Because this is your podcast too. Paranormal Point of View. All right? All right. Good night, everyone. And until we get together again, via con Diaz.